Well, good morning, everybody. Before we begin, if you need closed captioning services, please visit my website at sd12.senate.ca.gov. Again, sd12.senate.ca.gov. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining me here today. First, I'd like to take a minute to introduce my invited guests and to thank them for joining me here today. Superintendent Steve Tejan from the Monterey County Office of Education, Superintendent Philip Alfano from the Patterson Joint Unified School District, Superintendent Lori Gonzalez, El Nido Elementary School District, Superintendent Chris Vitelli from Merced Community College, Superintendent Al Peterson from the Merced Union High School District, Jeff Menge from Patterson School District, Espi Sandoval, a dual enrollment educator and member of CVLRT, Pamela Merritt Bennett from the Black Parallel School Board in Merced, Hersai and Maria Alapisco, who are incredibly active community advocates. Thank you so much for joining me to talk about an important issue that affects the future of California and rural California in particular, and more importantly, the future of all of our families. Most of you will remember the image of the two little girls sitting outside of the Taco Bell on their iPads. They were there to access the internet for their daily Zoom meetings with their teachers, and they were from my district. The image was haunting and sad, but not unusual in rural California. Many families struggle to access good, high-quality internet because it is too expensive for the family's budget, or it's just not available at all. Since I returned to the legislature, I have been fighting for rural residents to enjoy the same quality of life in pursuit of the California dream that the wealthy coastal regions of the state so readily enjoy. I expected to be focused on water, since the communities I represent are rural and economically dependent on agriculture and the food that we all produce. And it's true that food grows where water flows. I must admit, I did not expect to be focused on broadband. Almost 4 years ago, I conducted a hearing through a select committee that foreshadowed this past year's pronounced spotlight on the digital divide. And not only the digital divide in general, but how rural and poor communities would be left behind with inferior education, health, and economic opportunities, solely because they lacked true high-speed internet. No one listened to me then, and the Internet for All Now Act moved through the legislature without the amendments that I was pushing for. The cable companies and the telecommunication providers controlled the Internet for All Now Act with a furious lobbying effort to reduce the network speeds they would need to meet to build broadband projects in underserved areas. And they were able to get the bill to give them the right of first refusal so that no new companies could come in. They were able to protect their markets, a pure anti-competitive measure that passed and was signed into law by Governor Brown. This is the norm in California and quite frankly around the country, and it's not right. When faced with competition to their broadband businesses from private or municipal offerings, the cable and teleco providers ramp up lobbying efforts. The companies are able to overwhelm those fighting to close the digital divide to the poorest and the least densely populated parts of the state. I have a bill, which is Senate Bill 28, which looks to level the playing field by holding cable and teleco companies to their obligations to serve our communities with robust digital products. And by robust digital products, what I mean is products with enough speed to be able to do all of the things we all expect to be able to, which is to do the Zoom calls and at a price that working families can afford. For the past 15 years, these telecompanies have benefited from California's grant of a statewide license that allows them to pick and choose where they want to deliver digital video television. And it's no surprise that it is to communities with wealthier ratepayers. Amazingly, they deliver multiple products to subscribers through that digital video network. As anyone who subscribes to cable TV knows, they have likely been offered the bundle: cable TV, broadband, voice, and home security. Certainly, more digital products will continue to be offered to subscribers through this single network point of access. And this is an important fact. There are not 4 different network paths to your home, just one. Before the law passed that created a statewide license, the telecom companies had to negotiate with each city and county. And I remember those days because I remember the negotiations were very extensive. Each community could dictate what kind of service it wanted to receive, such as what the basic cable rate was going to be and what kind of programming was offered on that cable. Now the locals have no leverage with these companies and have no say as to the quality of service, such as the speed, the cost, and the services. And that was because state law took away the authority of local governments to be able to negotiate, and it created one franchise agreement. My bill would change that. It would restore the balance of power to local communities so that they don't have to wait another 15 years of network development and investment. My bill commits state property to the discussion about building the necessary infrastructure. The state owns extensive highways and buildings all over the state of California, and those properties could be used in partnership. It would encourage competition through the public-private partnerships to reduce the cost of the infrastructure development so small internet companies could expand their services. It would allow communities to share resources and build the infrastructure that is necessary for every resident to have high-quality, fast internet services that tie rural communities to the World Wide Web and give all families access. And I think that's why I have so many of the superintendents here, because it will provide an opportunity for the school districts to create a partnership with their cities and their counties and private providers to be able to come up with a plan to better meet the needs of their residents. I'm tired of hearing that our communities are resilient. Although I believe that they are, it's time to level the playing field. The same internet access needs to be afforded to students like Kimberly in Tranquility, who does her homework at 3 a.m. when her signal is best, as to students living in wealthier neighborhoods. I'd now like to introduce my next guest, Superintendent Steve Tishan from the Merced County Office of Education. Welcome, and the floor is yours.
Get off mute first. Thank you, Senator Caballero. I really appreciate you taking the time to invite us together today to talk about your proposed legislation. It's critical for our county to have a more robust approach to how we deal with digital learning. Digital learning, while it was a unique experience this past year, is not going away. We want all students in Merced County to have the same kind of high quality access to broadband that other folks in the state get. We have all experienced being on a Zoom call where things break up. We know how frustrating that is. 20% of our kids in Merced County live in rural areas where they do not have a robust broadband service. They're working off of hotspots. They're working off of weak signals, or the signals don't have the capacity to handle the traffic in some of the rural areas where there is a more dense population, but the broadband doesn't really exist there to serve them. So kids are bounced off all the time. We need to have a utility approach to this rather than an entertainment approach to serving students through broadband. And I really appreciate the multi-pronged approach that your bill takes to make sure that these private providers do their part, fulfill the promises they made when they signed contracts to serve Merced County, to really serve Merced County. So thank you very much for this effort, and you have our support.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And I know that you have worked very hard to try to ensure that all the students had the access that they needed in order to be able to continue their education from home. So thank you for your service.
Well, thank you very much. And let me just say our district superintendents in the county have worked very hard to make sure that they've accessed all the programs the state's offered this past year, whether it's free Wi-Fi hotspots or using their COVID rescue money to fund those hotspots so that all kids have access. The fact of the matter is, even if we do have those hotspots deployed across the county, the signal is still weak, and it doesn't solve the problem.
That's right. That's right. Next, I'd like to introduce Superintendent Philip Alfano from the Patterson Joint Unified School District. Welcome.
Thank you, Senator Caballero. And again, thank you for sponsoring this most important legislation. I have been in the Central Valley for over 30 years, and this issue, particularly the issue of equity in terms of computer resources for education, was with us and something that we were dealing with 30 years ago when I was a teacher in a rural district in Fresno County. The digital divide in particular, as it relates to broadband internet, is more than 2 decades old as well. So this is a problem that needs to be solved. Locally, we have done some incredible things, and I want to commend our staff for trying to reach as many students as we can. We have not only deployed hotspots, but took it upon ourselves to put up LTE towers on all 8 of our campuses to help close that digital divide. But like most districts in our area, we are a very diverse, very large geographic district. We cover over 300 square miles and 6,000 students. So we know that in those extremely rural areas and pockets within our district, there are students who still do not have adequate broadband internet access at home and must either come onto our campuses or find another point of access in the community. So again, we wholeheartedly support your effort and want to do whatever we can to finally bridge this digital divide and solve this equity issue for all our students.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate the work that you've done as well. I agree with you. The issue has been around for a really long time. Part of the challenge is that, you know, the positive part is that we haven't had to rely on the internet access in our day-to-day living, particularly as it relates to children being engaged academically. And if there's anything that this pandemic did, is it taught us that was we couldn't really rely on the kind of systems that are in place right now, because they're terribly and woefully insufficient. And we're going to be left behind, further and further behind, unless we get the situation resolved. So thank you for your hard work, and appreciate your commitment to learning. Next, I'd like to introduce Espi Sandoval, who's a dual enrollment educator and also a very active member of the CVLRT. And I was going to say what the CVLRT is, and I know I'll miss a letter, so I'll let you do that yourself. If I could just say that that one of the great things, SB works at Tranquility High School, and I'm always amazed to speak to his students that are in the dual enrollment program, because these students are taking community college courses at the same time that they're finishing up their high school education, and they have an AA by the time they graduate from high school, which is just amazing, and extremely talented students from the city of San Joaquin. So welcome, SB.
Senator Caballero and I really applaud what you're doing, because like I mentioned to you before, I live in the least educated congressional district in the country, which is the 21st Congressional District in California. And one of the issues that we have here is, I like what you say, what's happening to a lot of our population. If only 7% of our congressional district has a college degree, there's really some major issues. It has a lot to lack of resources, access to internet, and what we're doing is denying these students a 21st century way of life. I'm kind of quoting because, I really believe that, and to a lot of our people. And I'd like to just mention a short story on trucks in Cantua, which is out in western Fresno County. It's a community of pretty close to Interstate 5. And a lot of my students now in the Central Valley, because we expanded out of just San Joaquin, Mendota, Huron, Fresno, Tulare. But a lot of students in that area, like in Cantua, in the old days, and still doing it, when they're taking their dual enrollment courses, they go to the school, let's say 10 o'clock at night, they got to turn in at, let's say at 12 midnight or whatever. And parents would actually grab the kids to the middle of elementary school so they can get access to the Wi-Fi. So, and what I call that survival. And in the town of Tranquility, I managed to convince the superintendent to open up the Wi-Fi, for the kids so they can come and borrow it around the school. You know what I mean? Because that's the only time that they had access to some type of internet to turn in their assignments to the college, because they were taking classes online. So I really applaud what you're doing, Senator, and I hope that things turn out better for our population, because I like to see our 21st congressional district not be labeled as the least educated congressional district, because it's pretty sad, So, and I think with your work that you're doing, it's going to help us to move into a different level that is going to create a 21st century life for a lot of our population. So thank you. And it's leaders that change things. And I thank you for everything that you told me since I first met you. You said, hold me accountable. And you know what, Senator? We're not holding you accountable. You're holding yourself accountable. So God bless and thanks for all the work you do. And I'm going to relate that to a lot of our people in our communities here in Western Fresno County. It says, hey, we have a true fighter, a guerrera. I call you a guerrera, in Spanish, a warrior in Sacramento fighting for us. And thank God you're around, and God bless you. God bless your family, and thank you.
Thank you very much for all of those blessings, and I really appreciate the work that you do and the commitment you have to students as well. Your students do terrifically well, and their life will be fundamentally changed because they're able to take they're able to get the help that they need, and they're able to access people that believe in them. So thank you very much for all your hard work. I really appreciate it. Next, I'd like to introduce Pamela Merritt Bennett, who is a member of the Black Parallel School Board. She's been extremely active in the community of Merced and really trying to do everything possible to ensure success for the students that are academically are struggling. And so welcome here. And I'm happy that you could join us today.
Thank you, Senator. In response to COVID, online classes via Zoom became the primary way education was delivered. This necessary Plan B has seriously limited access to learning for many Black and Brown children. What has become very clear in the wake of COVID is that reliable internet is one of those things that absolutely must be readily available to students. I commend school districts because they really stepped up in terms of providing hotspots for students who need them. However, even that has not eliminated the internet access problem for all children. Unfortunately, technology access to education negatively impacts communities of color disproportionately. The Black Parallel School Board is concerned about this as an increasingly pressing equity issue that needs to be addressed with an eye not only to the present, but to the future. COVID has resulted in an unexpected normalization of education around Zoom that I predict will continue to play a major role in student work. Students who do not have access will not be able to succeed and curricula of all types. I am grateful to Senator Caballero and sincerely appreciate her authorship of Senate Bill 28, as well as her other work on broadband that she's done over the years. I'm very hopeful that oversight resulting in a more open market will bring internet to areas that have spotty or no internet service at all. I am also hopeful that the competition will bring the cost of internet within reach of families who are financially insecure. Barring that, it's critical that districts be able to continue to subsidize internet access for its neediest students. However, although internet cost is a concern, without the hope for outcomes of SB 28, there still will be internet service unavailable to all for many families, affordable or otherwise. Senator Caballero has her finger on the pulse of one of the biggest and most important issues in education today. Her foresight and understanding how the lack of reliable internet will magnify the digital divide and widen educational performance gaps is prescient. That foresight gives California a chance to work this out before it becomes the catastrophic equity problem that will otherwise be unavoidable. Thank you, Senator, for your work. You have our support.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you for your advocacy on behalf of student success. It means a lot, and it gives people hope in the community that there are some solutions out there. So thank you so much for your advocacy. Next, I'd like to introduce Hertzai and Maria Alapisco. You'll see they're going to speak to us in Spanish, but you'll see what they're saying in English on the screen. I got to know both Hertzai and Maria through the work of a group that is organizing around cultivating change in Merced County. And I've had a number of meetings with the group, and every time I had a meeting, Hertzai and Maria Lapisco live in Gastin, and their method of being able to use the internet is to access it through the park. And so when it was 104 degrees, they were in the park sitting in their car in order to be able to Zoom. And then during the winter, when it was 40 degrees outside, they were sitting in their car. So not only are they very committed community activists, but it really exemplifies the challenge of living in a rural community where you don't have easy access to internet. So if there's anybody that understands the difficulty of accessing internet, it's Hertzai and Maria Alapisco. So, con gusto, bienvenidos a Hertzai y Maria Alapisco. Estaba explicando yo que cuando teníamos las juntas, ustedes estaban en el parque tratando de usar el internet ahí, y que era bien caluroso y frío al mismo tiempo, y que lo que sabemos es que necesitamos un sistema que sirve para todos los residentes. So, por favor, sigue Hertzai.
Buenas tardes, senadora, y muchas gracias por la introducción, y buenas tardes a todos los presentes. Mi nombre es Hertzai Alapisco y mi esposa es María Alapisco. Nosotros somos unos residentes que vivimos en las afueras de la ciudad de Gastín. Y ahora que surgió la pandemia del COVID-19, el problema que teníamos del internet ha empeorado día a día. Con el regreso de los estudiantes a casa a continuar la educación a distancia, el reto al cual nos hemos enfrentado con el internet es muy grande. El problema que ha surgido en las áreas rurales han sido mayor debido a que la conexión es muy mala. Los distritos escolares han proporcionado jaspa a los estudiantes y esto no funciona como deberían, ya que la conexión es débil y no soportan tener una clase en videollamada. Tenemos otro hijo que va a la universidad y cuando tuvo que regresar a casa por motivo de la pandemia, nunca pudo estar conectado en sus clases en línea porque la conexión fue pésima. Lo único que pudo hacer fue tener llamadas por celular con sus profesores para estar en clase y poder continuar sus instrucción. Cuando tenía que enviar sus tareas o presentar algún proyecto en equipo, tenía que ir al parque de Gastín para poder hacerlo, ya que en casa no se podía. Además, somos padres que nos involucramos en ayudar a nuestros hijos en su educación y también en la comunidad y en las escuelas. Nosotros pagamos por un servicio de internet con una compañía que, eso sí, mes con mes realizan el cobro, aun si tenemos que transportarnos al parque para poder hacer una junta virtual cuando podríamos hacerlo en casa. Y sobre todo, tenemos que aguantar el clima que impera en esta área porque es extremoso. O está muy caliente o bastante frío o con mucho viento. Y por esto que les pedimos a ustedes que nos representan, que le den una solución a este problema, que no es hoy derivado a la pandemia. Este es un problema que ha existido por año, a lo cual ustedes no han querido darle una solución. Y no basta con las grandes compañías que solo se preocupan por recibir su dinero. Estas corporaciones tienen que mejorar los servicios que ofrecen en una comunidad y sus residentes. Es necesario la unión para lograr este cambio y esperamos que todos le den solución a este problema que afecta a la mayoría de los residentes de California. Muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias a Gersay y a María. Gracias por todos sus esfuerzos y también por acompañarnos hoy. Muchas gracias. As you can see, the challenges are great. And if we don't do something now, we're not going to be able to get ahead of the situation to make sure that we have the infrastructure in place. We won't solve this overnight. And passing this bill doesn't mean that it gets done like immediately. What it means is that it allows us to start making the changes that we need in order to be able to build the infrastructure that we need and to be able to extend the services, working with companies that really want to come in and give service to rural California and to families that don't make a lot of money. There are a number of small internet companies in the Valley that have service but need access to sites where they can put the infrastructure and resources. And that's what this bill starts to do, is to create an opportunity to do a public-private partnership where the school districts, the cities, and the counties can make decisions for themselves and build the infrastructure that they need to be able to service their residents. So, so that concludes our press conference for today. If there's anybody that'd like to make a comment or has one last great idea, if you want to either raise your hand or do it in the raise your hand function, I'd be more than happy to call on you. Seeing no one, I want to thank you all very, very much for joining me here today. There's a lot of work that has to be done, and I look forward to working with you all. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.